Now let's go a little deeper on denoising. This I find is a great starting point because it kind of gets rid of the muck that's around some of the more specific or pointillistic or less constant things that you may want to clean up with your audio. So if I go to the denoise category here, I can see I have a few options. I'm going to start with voice denoise. It's very, very handy, very simple. We're going to stay in adaptive mode and we have different optimizations. And just remember that these are all suggestions in terms of the ways that they are named. While I find that those suggestions are often correct, like music works better for music than dialogue and vice versa, I would say that if you're not having the right amount of luck, you can go ahead and play with them and you may wind up with something better. This is a very simple thing to use. We have a threshold, which is the point at which it's going to detect noise that it wants to get rid of. And then we choose how much we're reducing it by. It's as simple as that. So right now we're in adaptive mode. I'm going to go ahead and hit preview and let's start with the threshold up really high and let's back it in.
Come dance with me on the land and in the sea. Time to let your body free. Turn around and feel the beat. Come dance with me on the land and in the sea. Time to let your body free. Turn around and feel the beat. Come dance with me on the land.
Now, as I push the threshold higher, it's detecting more noise and applying that reduction to more of it. One thing that you have to watch out for is making things sound unnatural. Sometimes it's removing some of the character from the voice. So what you can do is dial it in with the threshold and then do a little dance with the reduction. See what the best combination is between threshold and reduction.
And in the sea, time to let your body free. Turn around and feel the beat.
Oh, we got to hit preview in order to hear what we're doing. So we're going to go ahead and hit preview.
Come dance with me on the land and in the sea. Time to let your body free. Turn around and feel the beat. Come dance with me on the land.
That's working really well for me. Just think of the threshold as telling it what you want it to reduce, and the reduction is how much you want it to reduce. Okay, so really it's a dance between those two. If you want to get out of adaptive mode, if it's just not getting it, you can turn that off. You get the option to have the learn button. Select a little area with some noise, perhaps over here. And then you can hit learn. It'll learn that noise profile. And then you can do the same dance with threshold and reduction, play with dialogue and music. The surgical filter does sound really good, but gentle can be good if you're starting to get more artifacts and things like that, or if it's just starting to feel unnatural. If we go over to dialogue isolate, this is something that I use often with voiceover or field recordings. It can also be nice for live recordings of musicians and singers. But essentially what we're doing is we're saying, hey, can you listen for things that aren't the voice? We're going to talk about how much to turn that down using the noise gain. And then we can also boost the dialogue a little bit. And again, there can be a little bit of a dance between these two because sometimes boosting the dialogue works better than dropping the noise quite as much. As we work with the sensitivity, we're going to change how it's listening to things and how far it's going to want to push. Ambience preservation is going to keep an ear out for any ambience around the voice in terms of the room and things like that. And then we can select our quality. Generally speaking, whenever you see a quality menu, it's just asking you how much processing power you want to devote. We're not in real time here. I say do best as much as possible. Unless you're really in a time crunch, then good, sometimes we'll do it. But I say, hey, go with it. Let's take a listen to this and let's play with I'm going to put the dialogue gain at 0 and let's put the noise gain at 0 as well. And let's take a listen. And this one takes a little bit of time.
Feel the beat. Feel the beat. Feel the beat.
Pulling the noise down.
Feel the beat. Feel the beat.
And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select a larger area.
Feel the beat. Feel the... Turn around and feel the beat. 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 Turn around and feel the beat.
So the reason why I pushed the dialogue gain a little higher is so that we can make sure that we're hearing this section is the only one that's actually being computed in this preview. We can select the whole thing, but it's going to take a little bit longer to compute that preview. Dialogue isolate isn't necessarily the best choice for this. I would go with dialogue isolate when things are a little more chaotic in terms of the noise in the background. It can be a little bit more ruthless in the way it processes things, so it's not generally my first choice for music. The last one that we have here is spectral denoise, which can be super handy. I find it's not often necessary for music. It's a pretty advanced algorithm. We can choose adaptive mode and we can choose the quality. Again, best is where we're going to go. But what you want to do here is actually listen to the artifact control and then dance with the threshold and reduction in the same way we did with voice denoise. The other one I want to show here is declip. This isn't the same thing. What we're doing is trying to get rid of clipped intervals in our recording. And if we listen, if we find anything that's harsh, it can actually be handy for that. This is something that you can use for a recording that is totally blown out and will often salvage things in a way that can really work, especially if it's intermittent. Again, we're going to go to high quality here, but let's go ahead and listen here and see if we have anything that gets a little bit harsh, because sometimes this can be handy for that.
On the land and in the sea, time to let your body free. Turn.
Okay, so we have this here, this time.
Time.
So that sounds good, but maybe it's a little heavy-handed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull in the threshold. I'm going to say, hey, here are the clips that I want you to sort of listen for, and then we can preview here.
In the sea, time to let your body in the sea, time to let your body in the sea, time to let your body in the sea, time to let your body.
It's not making a huge difference here because we have a pretty solid recording with an overall uniform level of saturation, but this can be really handy, and it can also have an interesting effect if you really yank it down. We can also use, and this is what I do most often, is just use this suggest button. And if you do have some clipping that you're trying to get rid of, then this is a really good place to start. Again, we also have makeup gain, which can be really handy to just kind of pull things down a little bit and get them sitting right once they're rendered. Declip is one that can work really well if stuff is clipping across the board. However, I also suggest using declip in Audio Suite because it's so quick just to blast it in here and there. It's not one that I worry about a ton in the standalone.